It's you and that. After this
Yeah. Let's see, I need the full screen. Answering. Vince is coming. He's texting me now.
I was ready to stomp on it after, because she was laying right where I was trying to get over, and my foot slipped and my knee went crack.
I'm still letting people in, so bear with me. And then I know Councilmember Craig, Vice Mayor Craig has not been unmuted yet.
So Vince just sent a text asking to get let in.
I did. I got him.
Okay.
We have a large attendance tonight, so just bear with me as I let everybody in and unmute everyone. There he is.
Heather Burgett's asking for a link.
You can send it to her. It's just the meeting. Go to Zoom, and it's meeting number 3229.
Wait. Meeting number 3229.
Correct. 729660.
9660.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let me find, I gotta find Vice Mayor Cray in all this. Bear with me. Well, he's still, Crane. Oh, no. There he is. Problem is, they're coming in so fast that when I go to unmute him, he moves.
It worked.
Join the meeting.
There we go.
Okay, great. Thank you, Candace.
Okay, do I have you now? All right.
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Now, I don't know that Councilman Cray has been unmuted, so bear with me, please. Tony needs to be unmuted.
Join the meeting.
Did you just let Heather in?
I don't know.
I am.
There's still about 14 numbers, so I'm just going, there's Heather.
You got Heather?
I have her now.
Okay.
Hold on, I've got a few more. Are all of our council unmuted? Tony, you're not? Okay. There, Tony, try it now.
Yep, I'm in.
Okay, all right.
Can I mute myself?
Mr. is now not unmute, okay. Steve? There you go. Okay. Carol? Vice Mayor Crane?
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
Michael Cray? Councilmember? There you go. Councilmember Cray?
I'm in. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Councilmember D'Alicio?
He's there.
All right. Are all of our council are not unmuted, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Cray is muted.
Mr. Councilmember Cray is still muted?
Yep.
All right, hold on.
He might have muted himself.
I think he did. Because I know I unmuted him.
Well, he's talking now, or trying to.
Okay. Let me, I have another, hold on. There, she's in now. Another member of the public, so bear with me. We want to make sure that we get all of our public equipment as well.
Okay, I unmuted.
All right, there you go.
Okay,
That was you.
thank you.
Okay, Mayor, it is 5:07. I'm gonna move out of the way here. As we have an opportunity, I will continue to admit the public into the meeting, but bear with us if that doesn't happen right away once we start the meeting. Hi, John. You are? Okay, hold on.
There's Scott Spurl. Wow, they let anybody in here.
All right, poor Vice Mayor Crane got muted again for some reason, so. Gotta find him.
Time blasted. Join the meeting.
Have you run through? Okay. Vice Mayor Crane, I know that you're muted. I'm working on getting you in again. I don't know why you keep getting kicked out. There he is.
All right.
There you go.
Good.
Okay. Are we good? Hold on, I've got one more text. Cheryl says she got muted.
Maybe when we begin, we should just do a roll call.
Yes, sir. Okay. Oh, Cheryl.
If we mute ourselves, we can't unmute ourselves.
Apparently.
Right,
Correct.
so that's
Yeah.
how, yeah, okay, so don't mute yourselves, council members.
Okay, so that's what's happening. Thank you, Councilwoman Croyer. Okay.
Whatever my name is.
I'm gonna let the mayor call the meeting to order. I'm gonna get out of the way and he'll do a roll call. Mayor, where you wanna sit?
Thank you all for coming this Tuesday, January 5th, to a notice of a regular meeting of the Carefree Town Council. Candace, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, Councilmember Craig,
Here?
Councilmember Croyer,
Here,
Councilmember Hatcher,
Here,
Councilmember D'Alicio,
here,
Vice Mayor Crane,
Here.
the mayor,
Here,
obviously.
So I can't turn my, I can't
And-
mute my microphone, but I can turn the sound off.
1, 2, 3,
And I don't know why.
we're missing.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
on their- on
I'm
their
sorry,
end.
Councilmember Geiger.
Yes, on their end.
okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
They can see
The new
you.
one.
Okay, we've completed the roll call, the Pledge of Allegiance. John Crane, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, pledge allegiance
To the flag,
flag of the United States of
States of
America,
America,
to the republic,
to the
Republic,
republic, which stands,
stands,
one
to
nation,
God,
under
under
God,
God,
liberty,
liberty, and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We have a number of items on the agenda we're going to go through, and it should be relatively quickly. At the conclusion of this meeting, we're going to do a call to the public and current events. I understand we have a number of people who have submitted letters from the Boulders, et cetera. So we will read every one of those into the record so that all can hear it, and we will keep copies of it. We'll talk more about it later when we get together. The first items are 1 through 3 on the consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of the December 1st, 2020 Town Council regular meeting minutes. Okay, while I'm talking, Candace, town clerk is allowing additional people to come in. Sorry for, we'll have some of these things happening. Item number 2, acceptance into the public record of the December 2020 paid bills. Item number 3, acceptance of the cash receipts and disbursements report for October of 2020. Now, because there's so much that's been going on, we're going to postpone item number 4, which was these cash receipts and disbursements for November of 2020. And we'll only deal with items numbers 1 through 3. Yeah, are there any of the council members that have a question or comment relative to items 1 through 3? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve items 1 through 3 on the consent agenda.
I move we approve items 1, 2, and 3.
I second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Candace, would you please go down the roll call? We're required to do it by individual since this is a Zoom meeting.
Councilman Craig, how do you vote?
Wait, I didn't hear.
Councilman Craig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Croyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Hatcher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Dionisio, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Geiger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Crane, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
Items 1 through 3 pass and are accepted. We'll go on next to item number 7, which is the appointment of the vice mayor to serve the term from January 2021 through December of 2022 in accordance with section 2.2.2 of the town code of the town of Carefree. How this works is that the mayor nominates one of the council members to be the vice mayor. The council then votes or discusses it further, but they vote to affirm or disaffirm. I nominate John Crane. John has been the vice mayor for the past 6 years, 3 terms. He has done an absolutely outstanding job and continues to do so. And I would like to have him continuing to support the town and all of its residents as the vice mayor for the next 2-year term, commencing immediately. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Candace, would you please go down the roll call?
Yes. Councilman Craig, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Croyer, how do you vote?
If you stop calling me councilman, I'll vote.
Councilperson Croyer,
Against my better judgment, I'd like to vote for John Crane to serve as vice mayor 1 more term.
Councilmember Hatcher, how do you vote?
I don't know. No, of course, absolutely.
Councilmember Dionisio, how do you vote?
Aye. 2 more years.
Councilman Geiger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Crane, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor?
Aye. I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. John, congratulations and thank you for all you do for the town.
Thank you all. It's an honor to serve, and thanks for having faith in me.
We do. Item number 8, review, discussion, and possible action to approve a wholesale liquor license application from Stephen Gold and Moselle Wines located at 7202 East Cape Creek Road, Unit 5B in Carefree, Arizona. Candace, would you like to say anything? You handled these.
Yes, we received this application. It was posted timely. The posting has been up for over the 20-day required minimum posting days. This is down by
Bertram Signs.
thank you.
Where? By where?
Bertram Signs.
It's by Bertram's. They are a wholesale only. It's not a resale. They basically, they cater to wholesale to restaurants and that type of thing. They may be on our meeting, and I do apologize to them. They were invited to attend the meeting tonight. However, we have such a large contingent of the public, I can't find them.
I see him, he's on my screen.
Good, okay, good. So, go ahead.
Yes, Steve Gold here.
There you go. Okay.
Thanks everybody for having me. A lot of you guys know us from Brilliance LED. We manufacture high-end landscape lighting. Just a quick story, if I may. In 1976, I was stationed at Hahn Air Base in Germany for 2 years with the Air Force and absolutely loved the area. Fell in love with German Mosel wines. And I didn't know this 2 years ago, but I applied for an import license from the United States government, and that was granted. It took me 2 years and a pile of paperwork to do it. So now the next step for me, and this is quite frankly a hobby, is to be able to wholesale find
I get 80%, but
German wines to the local market. The application or item number 8 says liquor license. I just want to let everybody know it's not a liquor license, it's a wholesale wine license. It's strictly wine storage. We're not selling to retail out of that studio.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gold, and welcome. We wish you well.
Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
We need an action to approve that.
yes,
I move that we approve item number 8, granting a
Number 8.
wholesale liquor license.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Candace, please read the roll call.
Join the meeting.
thank you. Councilman Cray, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Croyer, how do you vote?
So I could,
Councilman Hatcher, how do you vote?
Aye.
I haven't voted, Candace.
Councilman Croyer, how do you vote? Councilmember Croyer, how do you vote?
Thank you, I vote aye.
Councilman D'Alessio, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Tony Geiger, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
I apologize for that. Vice Mayor Crane, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mayor?
I vote aye as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Gold, congratulations. We look forward to this new business in town. The wine license, the wholesale wine license is approved. Items number 9 and number 10 go together. They're the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have had 3, it's a 7-member commission. We have had 3 long-term members who have served the entire community extremely well. And I'd like to thank each one of them as we go through here. Al Masha, who joined the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 5th of 2005, has been chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission from August 3rd of 2009. Scott Spurl, who was appointed to the commission on August 3rd of 2009, has served 11 years on it, has done an absolutely outstanding job, is the voice which really, in my mind on the commission and the discussions we've had, he's the one who advocates for Carefree as we've always known it. Let's keep it the way that it is right now. And the third person who is leaving us right now, he spent 7 years on the commission, Dick Tatlow. Dick was appointed to the commission on June 4th of 2013. And all 3 of these gentlemen have done an absolutely outstanding job. And I thank them on behalf of the town council and the residents of Carefree. In the next number, which we're going to go through, we'll go and we'll vote on replacement candidates for them. We have 4 excellent ones, but I would like to encourage each one of the 3 who are leaving, Al Masha, Scott Spurl, and Dick Tatlow. It's just all come together that they have other priorities that are coming up in their life that they'd like to focus upon. They've given long and hard work to the town over that time. ask them to stop by. I'd like to, I want to say shake their hand, but symbolically shake their hand. But we also have a plaque from the town that we'd like to give to each one of you. So sometime within the next week or two, if you would stop by, I would very much appreciate it. The next item that we have is item number 10, introduction and appointment of Planning and Zoning Commission applicants to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And we have 4 outstanding candidates, all obviously Carefree residents: Peter Burns, Susie Dymoke, Ralph Farrow, and Phil Corso. Now, we know all of these individuals. They have worked with the town. They have made contributions so far. And if any of them, we can figure it out how to unmute any of them who wish to say something to the council.
Music? Yeah.
Bear with me while I go down the line.
Oh, you're gonna get what Phil wrote in. You'll get what Phil wrote in.
Ralph, can you unmute yourself? Or do you know how? He's done it himself.
This is where we're supposed to be.
Let's see.
I guess you were to try to get him
Let's see all of them. Oh, there's Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, you're unmuted, correct?
I believe so.
Great. Phil? No.
Check the box that says unmute. Phil is unmuted. Peter's unmuted. Scott, you just muted yourself. And Ralph, you are muted. Ralph, can you unmute yourself? It's the only time I'll ask you that.
Amen.
No, Ralph.
Let me see. I tried to unmute him, so let me try it again. But I think he's got control of that now.
And Susie Dymoke, is Susie?
Susie?
unmuted?
Yeah.
I think
Here.
I unmuted myself.
There she is.
Okay, thank you. Susie, since I believe the 4 of you are on, I'd like to just say 2 words to the members of the council and the members of the audience who are listening.
You'd like me to say something?
Yes, please.
Well, hello. I've been a resident of Carefree for about 10 years. I'm a passionate server of all sorts of organisations locally, and it would be an absolute honour to serve on planning and zoning.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Peter Burns, would you like to say a few words or 2?
I have it muted because I don't want to hear the bells.
Sounds like a bunch. I have been a resident since.
Yeah, I am turning the sound off.
There you go.
Okay, Peter.
I've been a resident since 2018. Currently, I'm president of my homeowners association. Since I've been up here, I've spent about 2 years following the Cave Creek Water Advisory Committee because of the water issues associated with the area. I'm a member of the Boulders Club, and I summer in Pine Top, Arizona.
Thank you. Ralph Farrow, would you like to say a few words?
Now I'm gonna do. Just you guys know me. I've been around since 2013. Been a thorn in the side of the council ever since. Was on the water advisory committee. With economic development, so that's not it. We got members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Phil Corso?
Yes, sir. I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
Okay. I've been in the Valley since 1975. Been in the real estate development business since 1981. It's kind of interesting. Myself, if I get appointed, I'll be in the opposite side of where I normally am. I'm normally the applicant dealing with P&Z and design review. So I think I bring a different perspective, hopefully a good one to the town. And I concur with, I'm not sure who said it, keeping things the way they are. We don't need a lot of change here. We need to fix what we have and keep growing it. So that's my comments, Les.
Okay, thank you, Phil. It's an interesting perspective. 98% of Carefree is residential. And the other 2% is commercial. And much of what we get into is either density on residential or conversion into commercial. So it's good to have people who are versed in these things. Now what we need to go to is a vote of the town council. And Candace, I'm going to ask you, do we unmute the 4 candidates?
No, what we're gonna ask you to do is, for the council members, you have a chat button at the bottom of your screen, hopefully. On that chat, you can send me a private message with your vote. If you can't find that chat message, you're welcome to text me or text the mayor with your vote. And we'll take those. I know a couple of council members have done that already, so bear with me here.
That's fine.
There we go. Okay.
Recall that you're voting for 3 candidates. We have 3 openings right now. This is the first one in many, many years on the first single one, and 3 at a time is a very unusual occurrence. And since we'll be voting for 3 candidates, there will be one who isn't voted in, but whomever that candidate might be, we have great respect and we welcome participation, enthusiastic helping of the many things that we have to do to continue to make the town of Carefree an excellent place to live. Candace is tabulating up the results that are coming in.
Council member DiAlicio, I need a 3rd vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me? Oh, I sent you my 3.
1, 2.
Hold on.
Okay. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We got it now. We got it.
Les, you might want to realign your camera a little bit. We can only see a portion of you.
But that's because I moved the screen.
Candace is reading the screen to get the votes that are coming in on chat.
Okay. Councilmember DiAlicio, Councilmember Geiger, Vice Mayor Crane, Councilmember Croyer, Councilmember Cray. Do I have your?
Did it come in? Yeah, there you go.
Okay, hold on. There you go. Okay. Now we have them all. And then I have the mayor. Okay.
Okay, you have all of the votes from the council members?
There you go.
Okay, we have 3 people who have been selected by the council. Mr. Peter Burns, thank you and congratulations. We look forward to working with you. We've got a lot of major tasks ahead of us. We talked one of them when we were discussing it with ourselves, and that is taking a look at the whole fire coverage up in the Carefree area. Mr. Phil Corso, and Phil, I have great respect for all of the development knowledge which you have, and that gives you great insight to what people are bringing into the Planning and Zoning Commission and what alternatives they have. And the third one is Mr. Ralph Farrow. Ralph has been working with us in the economic development front for many years now, and thank you. And Susie, we would very much like to continue working with you. You bring a breath of fresh air and experience and enthusiasm, and we have a number of areas that we would like you to work with us in, and we will be back in touch. So congratulations to Mr. Burns, Mr. Corso, and Mr. Farrow. immediately you have been appointed to the Carefree Planning and Zoning Commission. What I'm going to suggest is that the members of the commission, the 7 members, get together and elect a chairman. And amongst yourself, who is the one who can provide the leadership. We have major tasks which are coming up. One of them is a revision of the town plan of development. This is generally a 2-year task. And again, and we'll move off of this, I can't extend a more sincere thank you to the 3 members, Al Masha, and Dick Tatlow and Scott Spurl, who have contributed mightily over the years. Thank you all.
If I could just add, just to echo the mayor's comments, there were the 3 commissioners who are stepping down have almost 30 years of experience. In those years, we've really tackled some interesting and complex issues and successfully. So thank you very much. And it's unfortunate we have to do this in a Zoom meeting. Because if it wasn't, we'd all stand up and give you a round of applause. And to those who are candidates, all 4 of you, thank you for stepping up. And one way or the other, we're going to put every one of you to work. Not only the 3 who were selected, but Susie as well. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, item number 11, introduction and appointment of a technical advisory committee for the development of the economic development function within Carefree. One of the things that I'd mentioned briefly before, 98% of Carefree is residential, 2% is commercial. As we look ahead, we have to take care of how does the revenue for the town come in to provide the services, the roads, the police, the fire, et cetera, these kinds of things. And economic development looms very, very highly. Mr. Steve Prokopek is the manager of our economic development function. And I would like to ask him to step in as soon as we unmute him. To explain the function and who he has selected to help give him perspective and depth of information on different kinds of retail establishments that might make sense in Carefree, as well as how to work with the existing merchants to maximize their businesses.
A lot more reading.
So, in just a moment, when we find him on the long list.
Yeah.
I wonder why it's shrank down to such a.
Well, Candace is looking later on, and
There we go, Mayor. Steve is on.
You got it?
Thanks, Candace. And
Okay.
thank you, Mayor. And like Ralph, I mean, how can you keep me muted that long? I mean, 2 of us are, you get us going, we don't stop. So, hey, I just wanted to say thank you. And yeah, so as we went through the 24-month business plan, we did a extensive presentation. And in order to accomplish the goals, I really feel that it's important that we get, we don't do things in a vacuum, and that we really seek to get guidance from people who are experts, technical experts, and then also who have a stakeholder interest within the community themselves. And so, after having a lot of conversations with a lot of folks in the community, I've been able to ascertain that we have a really good group that we put together. Right now it's 4, and we're keeping it somewhat small because, with COVID, it's kind of nice to be able to get together in person, and the larger we get, the more difficult that gets. And so we really want to kind of keep it short or keep it small. And I know everybody feels that it's important that we can meet face to face as we start tackling, the economic development issues that we're putting forward. And what this group will be really responsible for is providing guidance on strategic initiatives as they relate to the 24-month business plan, assist you in evaluating plans, especially as we look at the town center and looking at master planning the town center as we move into the future. and then advising us on real estate matters. In particularly, one of the things that we were discussing was the potential of moving town hall and what we do to dispose of this site, and the development potential of the town hall site, and where could town hall land, what makes the most sense for the town as we look at the long run. And then, assisting with identifying potential revenue sources as we move forward. I know we've been really focused on commercial retail, but there's a whole host of things that we can look at, as well as financing mechanisms that could be available to us, such as improvement districts or other types of financial districts. And then the last piece of that is the marketing, as we try to define, really what is Carefree, who we are, where we want to be, and then even at the nuts and bolts of it, how we want to handle our marketing piece. And so we have an extremely diverse group, and I did have a slide presentation, but with so many people and so many things going on here, I'm just going to read the list of members that we have. The first member that we have is Bruce Raskin. Bruce is the president of Raskin & Associates, and he's also the owner of Historic Spanish Village. And I think we've all been pretty impressed with what he's been able to do with Spanish Village and the impact it's had. And Bruce has extensive knowledge in real estate development, in real estate financing, and being able to attract tenants to development. And so he brings, really brings something to the table, and also as a stakeholder. I've also had the opportunity to meet Michelle Rotowski. Michelle is a Carefree resident, and she is the principal with Moore Studio. And Michelle has an extensive experience in architecture and project management for large-scale commercial projects throughout the valley, and just, really has a lot of positive ideas, as I've met with her, just to really, what we can do as far as Carefree goes. And I think she's also, her husband is a civil engineer, so that helps as well. So, any additional guidance we get as we look at, how that plays into the things that we're doing, as we look to the urban landscape, I think Michelle was going to bring a lot of value towards that conversation. David Duran, who is a Carefree resident as well and a principal with Avison Young. I had the pleasure of meeting David when I was with the city of Peoria as our economic development director. He was representing a development group that was looking at various different projects throughout the valley. And David has a ton of experience. He's the principal and broker over at Avison Young, and he has a lot of retail experience, both on the brokerage side and the development side, development rep, and he's represented some of the biggest tenants and some of, a lot of retail tenants throughout his extensive career of commercial real estate. And then the fourth we have is Brian Coker, and Brian is the principal at Coker Companies. And I don't know if you've seen his name, but Brian has been representing the Carefree marketplace for, and I'm not quite sure how many years, but it's at least 14 years, right around there. And really knows the market, knows the Carefree market, and has been in the forefront of working with tenants and marketing Carefree, and understands this community, but also is engaged in a lot of other projects throughout the valley as well. And it has a lot of connections back towards developers and the types of developers and tenants that we would like to see in this community. And in the past has brought us tenants that, could potentially be great Carefree tenants. So with that, these are the four that we're going to be moving forward with. That, there's no appointment on your side. This isn't a full-blown commission like the P&Z. It's going to be really a technical advisory committee, which will give us a little bit more flexibility as we move forward. But what we'd like to do is still maintain, that this is a public body at some level. And as we move forward, we'll be doing periodic updates as to the progress and monitoring. And then hopefully this summer, what I'd like to do is be able to meet with council in person. I keep my fingers crossed where we can have another study session and do a 6-month review of where things are, really have the opportunity to introduce these folks and maybe update on the things that we've been able to accomplish to that date. And so what we'll be doing is setting up a meeting for the end of hopefully this month or the beginning of February to have our first kickoff, and then kind of set off, and we'll meet and start the review of the 24-month business plan.
Okay, thank you. So you have talked to all these people. They have accepted that this requires no appointment by the town council. So we look forward to working with you and getting their input and assistance. While we have you unmuted, Steve, I wonder if I could ask you to take number 12 as well, the Thunderbird Artists 28th Annual Winter Festival, which is January 15th through 17th, and just talk about how we can do that, how they can do it, with COVID going on? Very briefly, just hit some of the highlights.
Sure, yeah,
Because this is an area of concern.
Yeah, I'll be real quick with this, but it is an area of concern, so just want to address questions. And as we said all along, we wanted to keep council up to speed on what's going on as COVID is a moving target and the numbers and what's going on with the governor's office. And per the executive order that happened in December, there was requirements that we had to follow along, which include that we have to put a mitigation plan to the Department of Health, which we did. And we worked with the Thunderbird artists, and we put an initial mitigation plan together based on, and I think we did share that with council, based on where we were then. But as numbers have gone higher, and I started to evaluate it a little bit further about really how can we move forward, and sat down with Thunderbird artists, and they've been very, very good about trying to find ways to further make this an event that I think really fits in with where we are today. And so the things that we're going to be doing, one is removing all the fencing and gating, so there will be no entry fee. And what that will do is not create choke points and congregation points for people coming in, and basically allow people to enter in any different direction. And on top of that, we will not be having any of the music in the pavilion to not create another point where people will congregate, since we know we will be having people coming for the event. And when you really break it down, it comes down to that it's just going to be artist booths. We'll still have the same number of artist booths that we originally were looking at, but it really now looks more like an art market. And as I looked at over the holidays, Kierland and other outdoor retail malls, there's no difference between what this is happening here and what's happening there. We'll still, except we're outdoors, and we'll still be requiring masks on the street level during in the space and going into tents. And within the tents, there will still be restrictions for each artist booth, how many people can go in there. And above and beyond what you would have seen at a typical mall over the holidays is they will be hiring security, off-duty MCSO. Matter of fact, I just saw the contract to hire that security. And so there'll be a security officer per 20 booths to make sure that the the vendors are complying, and that there's order going on and people are wearing their masks in the space. But if somebody doesn't want to wear their mask and they want to wander off, there's plenty of area within the garden space they can go to, be socially distanced, and to be able to do that. So we just think it's going to create a more casual environment that is more consistent with being a retail environment than being a festival at this point.
Okay, thank you.
What we'll be doing is submitting the revised plan to the Department of Health tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, as required. Item number 13, Steve, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the extension of the Friday morning special event permit for the street closure of Ho-Hum Road behind the Sanderson-Lincoln Amphitheater for the farmers market. I think this has worked very well over these past 3 months, and I believe they're requesting an extension of that.
Yeah, and it's been great. It's actually really helped expand the farmers market, and people have reacted to it positively. We did it as a test basis with the 100 Easy Street tenants to make sure that they were comfortable and it wasn't going to impede their business, and we were going to make sure it wasn't going to cause an issue with post office patrons. We've heard absolutely zero complaints on anybody regarding this, and I've talked directly with each of the tenants over 100 Easy Street, and they said it's had zero negative impact. As a matter of fact, it's been more of a positive impact. So I'm in full support of continuing closing that, and we'll continue to evaluate, and we'll ask for a 6-month extension on that and come back in the summer to further extend that. I just don't want to do it in perpetuity, just as things move forward, especially with COVID.
So what you're requesting is a motion to approve a 6-month extension, starting when?
Today.
Today, okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion? Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing no questions or discussion.
I make a motion to extend the Friday morning special event permit for the street closures for the farmers market.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Candace, would you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Cray, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Croyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hatcher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember D'Alicio, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Geiger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Crane, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Steve. That motion passes. The farmer's market road closure permit is extended for a 6-month period. The next item that I'd like to put on the agenda is call to the public. And public comments can be provided in a written format by email, which we have received so far. And what I'd like to do is make a couple comments and then turn it over to our Candace French Contreras, who's the town clerk, to read each and every one of those. Audience participants should know that every one of these letters has been provided, a copy of every one of these letters has been provided to all of the council members. We have mentioned that the town council does not vote on these. The water company is owned by what's called the UCFD, the Unified Consolidated Facilities District, and the 7 council members also sit on as the directors of that. And we will have a meeting, which I'll announce a little bit later on. We'll actually have 2 meetings where we present and discuss this as that body in total. So all council members have been provided a copy of every letter. We're going to enter every one of these letters into the public record. And since this is not an item which has been published on the agenda, nor is it really in the operations of the town, there are no questions from council members. And this is by statute, and the reason for that is if you put something on an agenda, then people who are for an item or against an item or just want to comment upon it are noticed of it and they can come in. So if it's not on the agenda, then a number of people are excluded. So there's no questions or comments, except council members are permitted to reply if there's personal criticisms or if there's gross, egregious misstatements of facts. So with that said, what I'd like to do, and we may change off for a couple people to do the reading, hopefully voices won't give out, but if I might ask Candace to start reading these.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to trade off with Steve, who you heard earlier, as well as our communications coordinator, Alex. So we'll rotate the 3 of us, and I'm going to do the best I can with your name. So I apologize if I don't state correctly. So the first one is Rocco and Maureen Benedetto. Candace, we are responding to the correspondence Les Peterson sent out this morning regarding the council meeting tomorrow and the water tank issues on the Boulder property. When you look at minute meetings of the Carefree Water Company, it lists Les Peterson as the chairman. Isn't this a conflict of interest as mayor to the residents of Carefree and especially the Boulders residents? Is this chairmanship a paid position, or are there any perks involved in his elected position on the water board? Thank you for having these questions, as well as our correspondence dated January 1st, 2021, addressed at call to the public.
Yeah.
Steve?
This one is from Arlene Little. Please do not seize our open space. There must be another area more secluded. Thanks for your consideration. I am a longtime Boulders resident and taxpayer in Carefree.
This one's from Lori Carson, to whom it may concern. We have been residents of the Boulders for over 20 years. We are in opposition to the placement of the water tank on the Boulder property for all of the reasons that have been outlined in the previous correspondence. Respectfully, Bill and Lori Carson.
From David Argo. Candace, I want to send you a quick note regarding the upcoming meeting. As Senior Vice President of one of the largest engineering companies in the U.S., I think it's real important to have everyone understand the importance of storage in a water system. Storage is like insurance in cases where there's a fire emergency within the service area. Adequate storage is a must. Some are complaining about the visual impact of a buried or partially buried tank, which can be screened with desert landscaping. I wonder what their position would be if the water system ran low during a fire or fire emergency. I'm sure the water company can develop a plan that minimizes visual impacts. Just my thoughts. Steve?
This is from Linda O'Brien. Both Bob and I protest the condemnation of any part of the common area of the Boulders for the purpose of installing a water tank. Please record this request in your official records. It's totally ridiculous. Thank you. And then Bob O'Brien.
From Ed and Linda Smith, City of Carefree. My wife and I oppose putting an unsightly above-ground tank within the Boulders. We purchased our home here 2 years ago because of the beautiful tract of land. I think the city should come up with Plan B.
From Stephanie and Ian Barber, residents of the Boulders. We support the rights of all Carefree residents who desire high quality and reliable water. However, we oppose the placement of a water tank in the Boulders or any residential Carefree neighborhood. There is a very large, undeveloped commercial parcel in Neighborhood A where the water tank could be built. Recently explained in the Carefree Truth, a major driving force behind this water transition is the desire of Cave Creek Water Service Area residents to protect their property values. This is no different than Boulders residents trying to protect their property values by opposing the water tank on Boulders common land. By locating this water tank in Neighborhood A's commercially zoned area, council members could give all Carefree residents a win. And it is not just the Boulders residents opposing the water tank on our common land. There has been a petition circulating for the past 3 months that has received 1,653 signatures opposing the water tank in the Boulders. The signatures represent Carefree residents, business owners, and visitors. To put that number into perspective, it is almost 500 more endorsements than the number of votes Mayor Peterson received in August unopposed election. We ask the town council to please respect this petition, as well as the town's own resident opinion survey conducted in 2011. Of the Cave Creek Water Service Area residents that responded to the survey, only 7.8% of the 31 people said they were receiving poor service from Cave Creek Water. Far more Carefree Water Company customers, 65, commented on excessively expensive water rates. The town council has focused on the minority of the Carefree residents who are campaigning for the water transition to protect their values, their property values, while ignoring Carefree's Water Company's existing customer base who are concerned about the excessive water rates. Since the number of Carefree Town Council members and Planning and Zoning Commissioners will personally benefit from this water transition, it seems politically unwise to ignore over 1,600 people by building a water tank in the Boulders common area. Council members have a graceful solution to act as the good neighbors you claim you want to be. Carefree can locate the water tank in the undeveloped commercial area of Neighborhood A where it will have minimal impact. Alternatively, the council can continue its current course of seizing land against resident wishes and building a water tank in the Boulders, resulting in a highly visible daily reminder to everyone in Carefree how this town council wields its power and a touchstone for why our water rates continue to increase. Steve?
This one is from Ken and Netta Altschul. To whom it may concern, Netta and Ken Altschul address at 3107 Arroyo Hondo. Residents of Boulders and Carefree strongly oppose the placement of a new water tank anywhere within the Boulders community.
Is from J.T. Murray, call to public section to be read at the meeting. I understand at the meeting today, the town council will be considering authorization to proceed with the condemnation of property within the Boulder community for the purpose of building a water tank. I want to express my opposition to this action. Adding a commercial utility facility within the residential community is inconsistent with the set aside of the property 50 plus years ago as part of the development of this part of the beautiful Sonoran Desert. I do not believe that analysis of alternative sites has been thorough and complete.
This is from Abby Renfro. Dear Candace, thank you again for spending so much time explaining the council meeting process. You mentioned that although not required by law, Mayor Peterson has instituted and maintained a call to the public section of open meetings. Prior to COVID-19, the public would speak in person for up to 3 minutes, and post-virus comments submitted ahead of time are read aloud by you during the Zoom meetings. In both cases, anyone attending the meeting would have an opportunity to identify the speaker, writer, and hear unedited content. The Boulder North HOA Board of Directors, on which the mayor's wife sits, has said that it is under no obligation to poll the membership on its wishes regarding the placement of a water tank, nor follow those wishes should they become known. I was also told by more than one board member that the attorney for the HOA has instructed them not to comment on the issue. Surprisingly, the board recently sent a release to all homeowners regarding the town council meeting on January 5th stating, quote, members of the Boulders Homeowners Association Board of Directors will attend the meeting to express opposition to the town's stated intent to condemn and seize our open space. We encourage Boulders residents and other interested parties with opinions on this issue to also make them known to the town council, end quote. This will be the first opportunity for our community to hear what our board members and others think about the water tank issue. I understand there may not be time to read all the submissions aloud, but I do not think that this is the time to modify the precedent set by the mayor that all those who attend the meeting may hear all public comments. To that end, I would like to suggest that these submissions be placed in a document which can be posted just under the agendas and minutes. Minutes are on the town council website as close to the meeting time as possible, updating it afterwards if necessary, as is done with other documents on that site. As controlling board of the UCFD, the town council is already in an awkward position when arbitrating community responses to the water tank. I believe that the above solution is appropriate and will help the mayor and council avoid any appearance of bias. Thank you, Abby Renfro. Steve?
It's from Barbara O'Brien. I oppose the water tank on Boulders property anywhere. Barbara O'Brien.
Terry Denton, call to public section to be read at the meeting. I understand at the meeting today, the town council will be considering authorization to proceed with the condemnation of the property within the Boulder community for the purpose of building a water tank. Adding a commercial utility facility within this residential community is inconsistent with the set aside of this property. This effort is not supported by the majority of the Boulders residents' ownership, and I oppose any effort to utilize Boulder common property, which we dedicate as restricted for rent development.
To the mayor and town council, it is easy for people to see that placing the water tank on the preserved desert common land of the Boulders would be a great injustice. You knew this yourself from the very beginning. This is obvious from your effort to conceal and misdirect. The deceptive renderings are just one example. The tank location, indeed the whole project, cannot be rationally justified. It was inadequately conceived and is absurdly costly for what it would accomplish. This is clearly about something other than water. The proof of this is that you must now rely upon the brute force of government and political power to push it through. The waste will be even greater as this conflict proceeds into intensive litigation. No matter what else you might achieve in your political careers, you will be remembered for this: secrecy and deception, dishonest motives, waste and political brutality. You will be remembered for attempting to treat people as if they were fools. Sincerely, Donald S. Schwarzkopf. Steve?
I am strongly opposed. This is Alan Harris, 1059 Boulder Drive. I am strongly opposed to the subject water tank being built anywhere on Boulder property.
This is from Katie Oliver. Hello, Candace. I'm a resident of the Boulders community, 1718 Stagpin Lane, and I want to go on record that I have a strong opposition to the town of Carefree seizing any land within the community's common area for the placement of a water tank, regardless of any amount the town might pay to the HOA. Thank you in advance for letting the Carefree Town Council members know of my strong opposition.
To whom it may concern, we strenuously object to the placement of the water tank anywhere on Boulders property. Deborah and I purchased our home at 2206 Sagebrush Lane, 2 homes away from the proposed water tower, on August 31st of this year. At the time of purchase, it was not disclosed that a water tower was proposed to be situated a few hundred yards away. This non-disclosure is a separate issue, but had we known, it certainly would have affected our decision. We love our new home. We have recently retired. I am an MD and my wife is an RN, and are now full-time residents of Arizona, having come from California. We enjoy the tranquil desert landscape outside our deck and rear windows and seeing wildlife passing through the proposed siting. We dread the prospect of this idyllic setting being disrupted by a water tank that could clearly be placed elsewhere. We fear the value of our home being depreciated by such an unnecessary decision. Please find another site which does not negatively impact innocent homeowners such as us, who will not even benefit from the claimed improvement of the water infrastructure. We hope and pray you will reconsider this decision. Robert Binder, MD. Deborah Franconi Binder, RN. Steve?
Robert C. Miller, 1401 Boulder Pass. My wife's written you stating her absolute rejection to Carefree's proposal. Let me add mine. In no way will I support a water storage facility being placed in our community.
Comes from Margaret Schwarzkopf. Attention Carefree Town Council members, please register my email with those opposing the placement of any water tank or supporting structures anywhere on the Boulders property. Placement of a tank on our common land is disgraceful, criminal, and just plain wrong. Move on.
This is from Rocco and Maureen Vendetto. Happy New Year, Candace. We live at 3209 Arroyo Seco. Please let it be known that we oppose the placement of the water tank anywhere within our Boulders community, regardless of any amount that the town may pay to our HOA. How could the town council propose putting a huge water tank in the middle of our picturesque and highly rated community golf course landscapes? Did the town look at different locations, especially locations that would be closer to the neighborhood it would support? Thank you, Rocco and Maureen Vendetto. Steve?
It's from Cass Antle. Our names are Mike and Cass Antle of 2018 Smoke Tree Drive. We are opposed to the plan to place tanks on the open space of the Boulders community. Please find another solution.
From Stephen Burke. I'm opposed to the placement of the water tank anywhere on Boulders property.
Dear Carefree Town Clerk, my name is Kathleen Stearns and I own 2 homes on Beaver Tail in the north community of the Boulders. I've been a homeowner in the Boulders for 29 years and I have lived in the Boulders full-time for the past 26 years. I vehemently oppose to the water tank being placed anywhere inside the Boulders. It doesn't make any sense to defile the pristine desert common grounds of the Boulders when there are other suitable locations in the surrounding community to place a water tank. Sincerely, Kathleen Stearns, 1156 Beavertail, 1158 Beavertail. Steve?
This is from, it says Nanjis Hensel. I hope I got that correct. We are opposed to the tank if it's an eminent domain situation. We just got rid of the sewer and that took years. I was told it was utility land that was already set aside for situations like this. Question. It's still not clear to me what benefit this tank will have for our community. If some of these concerns are addressed, that would be helpful. Thank you.
This one is from Dr. Connie Harrell. Please add my name in the growing list of official oppositions to place any water tank anywhere in the Boulder neighborhood. I am appalled at the lack of consideration for the breathtaking and renowned desertscape unique to that neighborhood. There is also documented lack of investigation and consideration for placement of water tanks where this could be concealed behind a nearby new development, including a strip mall. There's no amount of money that can undo such a destruction to the Arizona desert that we all enjoy and should preserve at all costs for generations to come. I sincerely hope the city of Carefree will do the right thing and find an alternative to destroying our open desert in the Boulders.
This is from Connie Gillespie Mays. Greetings, Candace. My name is Connie Gillespie. My husband is David Mays. We reside within the Boulders community located at 3067 Ironwood Road, Carefree 85377. We are explicitly in opposition to the placement of the proposed water tank anywhere within the Boulders community. Our views regarding this critically important issue are in agreement with the majority of the Boulders residents, regardless of any amount that the town might pay to the Boulders HOA. As local board members and town officials have steadfastly refused to poll our membership regarding this critically important issue, as I have personally witnessed this pre-CV-19 when we met in person and proposed motions to poll the residents. We are of the opinion the town officials have been unforthcoming, untruthful, and using CV-19 restrictions to their continued advantage. Although this could reflect unpreparedness more than nefarious intent. Regardless of the members of the town council have been careless for over the years, pre-CV-19 or not, as well as hypocrites should they actually proceed with the condemned, protected Sonoran Desert they have preached to protect for many years. To proceed with the water tank in the proposed area is irresponsible, short-sighted for generations to come, and reckless, which supports the publicly proposed conflicts of interest of many town council personnel, Desert Foothills Land Trust personnel, planning and zoning personnel, and Carefree Water Company management personnel, all to only benefit a few of those in favor of proposed water tank site. For public record, how many other property sites have been evaluated in lieu of the current proposed site? What are those property sites that were considered and why were they precluded from consideration? Please be specific with each site evaluated and rejected. Respectfully, Connie Gillespie Mays, Carefree.
Yeah, I'd like to just correct that the last one I read was from Nancy Hensel. I just was reading from the from on there, so I just wanted to correct that in case she was listening. The next one is from Robert Dugan and Kathleen Dugan. As residents of Carefree and specifically the Boulders, my wife and I both vehemently oppose the construction of a water storage tank anywhere within the confines of the Boulders. We feel that the city of Carefree has not performed any reasonable exploration of sites more convenient to the proposed area the water is intended to supply. We would participate in any legal action against this unwanted structure and welcome the opportunity to pursue this matter in courts.
This is from Jim and Lynn Grogan. To the town clerk, we would appreciate the following comments be read aloud during the call to the public section on January 5th, 2021 town council meeting. Thank you. In 2009, we had the opportunity to buy a home in the Boulders North community. We made our investment with the hope that we would one day be able to retire in this unique place in the desert. The Boulders always seemed to us to be less suburban residential development sprawl than a series of well-designed homes located in the pristine and unique part of dwindling Sonoran Desert. Unlike almost every other planned community in Maricopa County, and certainly within the town of Carefree, there is no place quite like this. It is as much as nature preserved as just another place to live in the desert foothill.
I don't know. She probably saw that I was muted.
We would like to go on record as homeowners and taxpayers that we are vigorously object to any attempt to install a water tank within the boundaries of our Boulders community. Not only is the proposed structure an obvious eyesore, but the continuing environmental disruption that will be visited by the construction will lessen the property's values of our parcel, as well as all of those who own a home in the North community. We are especially chagrined by the fact that there does not appear to have any viable or open public input during the initial development process. There are so many other places within Carefree where the water tank could be built and not have an impact on the historic nature of the desert in our community. Relevant Arizona law is unambiguous. Condemnation is only available where the condemnation is
Join the meeting.
located in a manner in which will be most compatible with the greatest public goods and the least private injury. Moving ahead with this project will not serve the public. The public will be better served by the town of Carefree finding an alternative site that would do no harm to the unspoiled portion of the desert. If this project proceeds, private injury will occur to all of us who live within the boundaries of the Boulders.
Nancy and David Williams, 1605 North Quartz Valley Road, Scottsdale, Arizona, residents of the Boulders. Dear Carefree Town Council, as lifelong visitors in Carefree, we are very concerned about the proposed building of the water tank in the Boulders. We have studied the plans and feel that it is wrong to mar the beauty of the Sonoran Desert, especially in the important corridor that enters the town of Carefree along Tom Darlington Road. As Boulders property owners, we worry about the impact this blight would have on our home value. As conservationists, we are unhappy with this proposed destruction of a pristine desert. The water tank should be placed next to the neighborhood that it will serve. You have already demonstrated that booster pumps are an efficient and acceptable means of transferring the water, so put them closer to the neighborhood that needs the water. As this water tank would not benefit the members of the Boulders community, it is unfair to ask us to assume the burden of the construction and view this tank. Sincerely, Nancy and David Williams. Steve?
This is from Ellen and Frank Jackson, 1721 and 1723 Staghorn Lane. I am opposed to the proposed location. Proposed location of the new water tower on Boulders land. Please use an alternative outside our precious natural environment.
This is from John and Carol Centrifit. This is to confirm that we, John and Carol Centrifit, residing at 2208 Sagebrush Lane, Boulders, strongly object to the construction of any structure, and especially a water tower proposed by the city of Carefree on our common area. The board must prevent this intrusion on our legally protected sanctuary.
Town of Carefree, January 3rd, 2021. I'm a part-time resident of the Boulders. I've been coming here since 1973 when my in-laws built their house and we were charter members of the Boulders Club. Now I own the same house. The North Boulders has always been a special place. Very few developments, and certainly none that are currently being developed, have the open space and common lands that we have. I frequently tell people that the Rust Lions have the best land use plan of any development I've seen. Sadly, this beautiful design plan is the only reason the town of Carefree is looking to locate a water tank in our property. If we were a zero lot line community like so many ugly developments around us, we would not be in jeopardy. As a former mayor of my community in Michigan, I'm familiar with the needs to provide utilities to residents. I am also familiar with being transparent about costs, benefits, and seeking community input. To my knowledge, this town council is lacking in all those points. Without sharing what the project cost will be and how much of a, quote, burden, end quote, each of us must share to bring Carefree water to residents who, by the way, already have water and should be pursuing actions to guarantee that water is good, without fully disclosing analysis of alternative sites, without providing a benefit to the Boulders homeowners, only a cost share. The town of Carefree is considering pursuing condemnation of Boulders preserved property to get the cheapest land possible. Condemnation will cost the town money as it will be required to compensate the Boulders for this land. The lawsuit filed against the town over this issue is costing money. This site may no longer be the cheapest option. The town of Carefree has greatly benefited from the Boulders being such a beautiful, special place. It has attracted many visitors who spend money in Carefree. not to mention the support received by Boulders homeowners. Property values in the Boulders suffered 10 years ago, but have rebounded, and people living here have the means and will to financially support the town. Taking a piece of open space that helps make the Boulders special opens the door for future takings, and thus making it not so special or desirable anymore. Long-term consequences must be considered. I oppose the use of government power. Oh, I know that legally you can do this, but is it the right thing to do? Sincerely, Gail Ringelberg.
This is
Steve?
from Gabrielle F. Thomas, 30-year plus resident, 1102 Ocotillo Circle in the Boulders. I want to go on the record as a resident who is opposed to placing a water tank on any Boulders land. No amount of money is worth desecrating our beautiful desert.
This is from Les McIsaac. I'm writing this document to oppose the town of Carefree building a water storage tank on the land belonging to the homeowners in the Boulders. As a homeowner in the Boulders South community, I support the efforts of the North community in opposing this effort.
Candace, we are writing to you per instructions from the Boulders North HOA regarding the Town of Carefree meeting on January 5th. We express our concern and dismay that the Town of Carefree has chosen to propose to site a large water tank, additional external mechanical facilities, and a service road access from Tom Darlington Road on our open desert common land within the Boulders North. This is particularly disturbing in that the members of the Carefree Town Council and the Boulders HOA Board of Directors, who are residents of our community, have chosen to pursue this plan despite clear opposition from many of the fellow homeowners. It is clear that this action is not about whether the Town of Carefree should provide water service to all of its residents. This can be accomplished without the construction of this industrial facility within our community. No engineering requirement has a singular solution. It is a matter of applying engineering design trade-offs that value our open common desert land. If the taking of Boulders North Desert common land by the Town of Carefree for the purpose of construction of an industrial water tank is successful, any of our protected lands situated around our homes can be subject to similar actions. It is hard to fathom how the Town of Carefree has managed to create such division within our community when other options are clearly available. Dave and Monty McCowan. Steve?
Randall and Deborah Carr, 2205 Sagebrush Lane. To the Town of Carefree, its mayor, vice mayor, town council, and the Carefree Water Company, Randall and Deborah Carr of 2205 Sagebrush Lane, Boulders North HOA members hereby oppose any placement of a water tank of any size or sort on Boulders North HOA property. They have no interest in the sale to the Town of Carefree of any of our HOA common area property. We will oppose any efforts by the Town of Carefree to undertake a condemnation action for any Boulders North HOA common area property. We will challenge any appraisals thereto appertaining.
This is from Judith Nuko. Hi, Judith. 1121 Ocotillo Circle. Am totally against the water tank where they propose to install on our property. The Boulders is too special a property. I'm sure there are other places for the water tank. Thank you.
Candace, I am writing to you to express my opposition to the proposed water tank on the Boulders property. I've been a resident for 29 years and was on the Boulders real estate sales team in 1984 when the Scottsdale portion of the Boulders was being developed. The strongest selling feature was the natural beauty of the community and the sensitivity of the developers to create an environment where the homes and natural landscaping blended together. The borders of the Boulders are without walls. Unlike other gated communities in the area, we didn't need walls because the natural desert owned by the Boulders flowed into the surroundings of our homes and community. To allow a water tank to be built on the Boulders property for all to see driving up and down Tom Darlington is an eyesore for our community. It is not what we are about. We are about the open space and the natural desert landscape, and the common areas are part of our community. The following is a quote from Rusty Lyon in the quote, "Spirit of the Boulders," end quote. As we begin to plan the 1,300 acres, we share a singular vision: to create an exhilarating desert place, a landscape where man-made architecture would subordinate to the natural environment, a setting where people could interact in easy harmony with nature. To that vision, we added a commitment to realize our dream. We pledge never to compromise the integrity of the desert or the development. The result is the Boulders, end quote. Donna Taylor. Steve?
From Charlene Lucia. As a resident of the Boulders, please accept this note as adding my voice to the objection of having a town of Carefree constructing a water tank on the Boulders common ground, and especially the town of Carefree trying to have the property condemned and seized for this purpose. I have been a resident of Arizona for 45, going on 46 years. I have had the blessing of owning a home on the north side of the Phoenix Mountain Preserve and loved having 10,000 plus acres right out my back door. When I downsized, the Boulders was the place for me. I love the way the community has been built to keep the natural open spaces. I do not feel that it is right for any town to just come in and take what it wants to because it's the most convenient spot that will save a bit of money, especially when there are other options available that won't create such tensions between the city and homeowners. Respectfully.
This is from Douglas and Charlotte Haxer. As a resident of the North Boulders community, we vigorously oppose the blatant attempts of the mayor and the Carefree Town Council to take our protected desert and construct a water tank in a residential area.
To the Carefree Town Council, we are writing to express our opposition to the proposed taking of the Boulders Homeowners Association land for the proposed new Carefree water tank. Our opposition is for several reasons. Eminent domain taking of the Boulders common land will have a negative impact on our property values within the Boulders, a significant impact on Boulders homeowners living close to the site, and will reduce natural area open space. Town and water company officials have admitted in court documents that they have not seriously considered or investigated other sites. The Boulders is a residential area, and installation of this industrial facility is inappropriate, exposing residential areas to ongoing health quality and air quality concerns from the chemicals associated with tank maintenance. Should this eminent domain action move forward, it sets a dangerous precedent by taking of common area open desert that should concern all Carefree residents. Eileen and Joe Talty, Boulder North residents. Steve?
Bob and Judy Newber. Our house is located at 2036 Smoke Tree Drive in Boulders North. We believe condemning property inside the Boulders North property to construct a water storage tank is neither fair nor right and should be abandoned. Our primary reasons are: the land being considered for condemnation is narrow and close to homes that have existed for many years. Construction of a water storage tank will negatively impact property owners' ability to quietly enjoy living in their home and will probably reduce home values, which is taking of private property. There is other property available in the area to be benefited that can be used to construct a new water tank that isn't immediately adjacent to the residents and private homes. The lowest cost to the water company should not be the primary factor in making a decision. The lowest cost to them would be most likely result in higher costs to local homeowners in the Boulders North community.
This is from David and Susan Christie. In getting every Carefree resident the clean water they deserve, the town should not harm anyone. Locating a water storage tank in the Boulders will harm property owners in close proximity to its location and will damage the whole community by putting an ugly face on the entrance to the Boulders in the town. We oppose locating it anywhere within the Boulders, and we believe many share this position. We urge you to find another site. Since inception, the communication about this issue from all parties has been deficient and fleeting, particularly when trying to demonstrate the Boulders site being the only viable location, what the construction will look like, and operating noise levels. And now we are being threatened to condemnation. Opposing to condemnation, the property is likely. If the town continues this course of action, time and money will be wasted. Find another site is best for all.
January 4, 2021, 1716 East Staghorn Lane, Carefree, Arizona 85377. Carefree Mayor and Town Council. We are submitting this letter to adamantly oppose the placement of a water tank on the preserved desert open space and common land of the Boulders. Development of any type, whether by possible condemnation or some negotiated payment with the Boulders HOA, is inconceivable and irresponsible when other viable options exist. Commercial development of any type on preserved desert open space is irresponsible. Respectfully, Paul and Bonnie McCrill, Boulders residents. Steve?
This is from Charlotte Haxer, 3028 Ironwood Court. The proposed Tom Darlington water tank will be an eyesore at the entry to the town of Carefree and also the main gate of the Boulders Resort and Spa. This is not the impression we want visitors to have to our town, nor is it the view we residents want to see every day. It will be visible from the golf course as well. Why would we want the city of Carefree to condemn our common area property on Tom Darlington? We do not. This would be a dangerous precedent for them to claim other common area property within the Boulders for future development projects. What alternate sites has the city considered? How much will our water bills increase from this water tank?
This is from Netta. Should I oppose the placement of a water tank anywhere in the Boulders? It will not benefit our community and should be placed where there is a less impact on residential properties or near the residents that it will benefit from the storage tank. The open desert space is unique to our community and should not be tampered with. Alternate sites have not been seriously considered.
As I understand, each of you will soon be asked to vote on moving ahead with the process of condemnation and taking through eminent domain open space now owned by the Boulders Homeowners Association. The purpose of the taking is for the placement of a water storage tank and associated equipment on what is now dedicated open space set aside by the developers of the Boulders over 50 years ago. Because of the unique foresight of the Boulders developers last century, it is, to this day, recognized as one of the most premier residential golf communities in the world. Citing its unusual abundance of undeveloped open space, Forbes magazine once wrote, quote, "One of the first standout luxury residential golf developments, sitting amidst a vast desert landscape," end quote. The unparalleled low housing density and the abundance of community-owned open space is why the Boulders residents chose to pay a premium to live within this community. Premium home prices mean higher property tax revenues to the town. This letter is sent to each of you as an elected town official and as a member of the UCFD Board of Directors, positions each of you hold in duality. I am opposed to the placement of the water storage tank and associated equipment on our land. Moreover, loathing the precedent it sets. I am opposed to the taking of our land. Considering the negative impact on our common land and associated financial losses inherent to this course of action, many of my fellow Boulders Homeowners Association members oppose it as well. Your actions with respect to the water tank matter have already spawned an ongoing lawsuit wherein the taxpayers of Carefree are paying for the legal defense costs of the town of Carefree Water Company, and as many may not know, the Boulders Homeowners Association. It is feasible that the initiation of the eminent domain process will evoke additional litigation. Bolstering Carefree water storage capacity for fire suppression preparedness is certainly a positive for the entire community. Improving the water quality for the residents of that section of the town of Carefree presently receiving water from Cave Creek is also a positive, with obvious benefits accruing to the new customers. Cannot both of these outcomes be achieved without destroying unique Sonoran desert open space set aside decades ago? Our community is aware that a willing seller has offered an alternate site for the water storage tank, a stone's throw away from the Boulders open land site. When asked by one of our association members why the avenue was not pursued, a Carefree Water Company spokesman cited the need to add a booster pump if an alternate site was chosen as the disqualifying factor. Both of these outcomes seem worthy of the cost of a booster pump. One has to wonder if the aforementioned ongoing costs of defending the town Carefree Water and the Boulders Homeowners Associations haven't already exceeded the cost of a booster pump. Aside from this booster pump argument, the eminent domain process does not come without considerable legal and professional costs that would be avoided by entering into an arm's length transaction with a willing seller of the proximate alternate site. Please demand a thorough review of all feasible locations for additional water storage before approving the seizure of Boulders Homeowners Association open land through eminent domain or any other manner. Respectfully, Patrick Brazil.
This is from Donna Taylor. Candace, I am writing to express my opposition to the proposed water tank on the Boulders property. I have been a resident for 29 years and was on the Boulders real estate sales team in 1984. When the Scottsdale portion of the Boulders was being developed, the strongest selling features were the natural beauty of the community and the sensitivity of the developers to create an environment where the homes and natural landscaping blended together. The borders of the Boulders are without walls, unlike other gated communities. I think we've read this one before.
Yeah, we have. My apologies.
Yeah.
This is from Larry and Eleanor McAllis. I want to be on record as a Boulder resident for over 20 years for the following. I am opposed to the town's stated intent to condemn and seize our open space.
Carefree Town Council, subject the water tank. I know there is much disagreement on the water tank issue. I am a Boulder resident, and although I will not be able to see the water tank from where I live, I believe it will be an eyesore for our property. I'm sure there are other places where the water tank can be placed that will not impact our community. There is a lot of building going on in Carefree that is substantially changing the footprint of this tranquil and beautiful community. I do not believe that placing this water tank in an unobtrusive place nearer to the commercial development will allow the footprint of the community to remain as idyllic as it has always been. I am not opposed to progress, but consideration of an area is necessary. Please share this at your meeting. Patty Health Band, 1208 Mesquite Drive.
This is Bernie J. Castillo. The public has been instructed to deliver to you any comments they may have related to subjects that may be discussed in the course of the above meeting. I understand that members of the Boulders North HOA Board, Weimar resident, will be in attendance to express their opposition to any potential condemnation or seizure of common area land of our HOA. I'd like to add my personal voice to theirs and state that for the record, that I believe that the condemnation of land that is owned in common for the benefit of the members of our, or in fact any HOA for any purpose is inimical to the public at large, particularly where there are privately owned tracts that are available and equally suited for the intended purpose. In addition, I would note that any action by our board to sell or make available under threat of condemnation or otherwise any HOA common area land would not diminish the private rights of the member of the HOA, which under Arizona law are recognized as separate and distinct. For all of the above reasons, I would kindly request that the town of Carefree, town council, and the water company locate any required new storage tank facility in a location other than inside the Boulders. Thank you for your time and assistance. Kind regards, Bernie.
From Margaret Vernon. To whom it may concern, I'm definitely opposed to putting the proposed new water tank at the entrance sign of Carefree by the beautifully raised desert landscape surrounded by the magnificent huge boulders. It's a welcoming sight entering our Carefree town. My question and concern is how any Carefree Town Hall board members would approve placing a huge water tank by the site. I understand it has to be placed above ground, ? What were the other options of placement? ? I believe this is a huge mistake and questioned why other options of location have not been explored.
Dear folks, I oppose locating this facility on the proposed site, which is beautiful desert land that should be preserved. Further, an adequate analysis of alternative sites has not been performed. As matters stand, I also oppose use of the power of eminent domain to condemn land for this facility. Thank you for your consideration. Brian Butler, 1311 Coyote Pass, P.O. Box 792, Carefree, Arizona, and his phone number.
This is from David and Jan Sabisky. If I said that right. Carefree Town Council. My husband and I reside in the Boulders North community. As such, we are vehemently opposed to the proposed site for the new water storage tank on the Boulders property. We chose to purchase property in an HOA community in order to be reasonably assured of a consistent look and feel of this community, and we pay sizable HOA fees for this assurance. Locating the water tank on the Boulders property or in any subdivision is frankly one of the worst strategies that you could take and is an offensive action against our community. And what would benefit value and what benefit value do the Boulders residents get from the placement of our property? Value is to be enjoyed by the Carefree residents miles away from the Boulders. In addition, placing this off the main corridor into beautiful Carefree, a premier community, is poorly considered as well. There has to be other locations that are viable for placing this tank. Have you seriously considered any, and where is the analysis? The residents of Carefree have a right to the analysis surrounding this project. How do we obtain a copy? Your current actions are not representative of the Carefree community we thought we were becoming a part of.
This is from Gabrielle F. Thomas. I want to be on record as a Boulder resident for over 30 years for the following. I'm opposed to the town's stated intent to condone and seize our open spaces.
Dear Candace, I am writing regarding the Town of Carefree meeting on January 5th. After due consideration, I've come to the conclusion that the process and decision to locate a water tank on the common desert land of the Boulders was short-sighted. The decision did not take into account the town's philosophy of valuing our surrounding desert. My objection is not about whether the Town of Carefree should provide water service to all its residents. It should, but it is the town's obligation to do so in a manner that is least disruptive to its other residents. The site that has apparently been selected is perhaps the most disruptive and the most divisive choice. The essential character of Carefree, and in particular the Boulders community, has been its open desert spaces. A condemnation action strikes at the heart of this for both Carefree and the Boulders. There are other solutions and other sites. I therefore strongly oppose locating the water tank on the common desert land in the Boulders community. Thank you, Carolyn Lazar Butler, 1311 Coyote Pass, Carefree, Arizona.
This is from Martina D. Miller at 1401 Boulder Pass. Mayor and council members, when each of you took your oath, you promised not only to follow the law and the Constitution, but also to honestly, carefully, free of compromising conditions, represent the best interests of the citizens of Carefree. We live in a period of time where our country is severely divided. Our last election is being questioned. Several states and cities are being decimated by bad decisions made by elected officials. Add the virus to the mix, and it's a lethal situation. Carefree's council has already made fools of themselves with their careless decisions by disregarding the carefully devised, voter-approved, comprehensive general plan for the future of this town. Mr. Peterson's folly is on display as the inappropriate and ugly Hampton Inn continues to grow in violation of height, size, and style regulation. It's an eyesore, and I'm being generous, yet the mayor and council approved the monstrosity, even with substantial opposition. That seems to be the way they govern. Disregard the citizens, don't even acknowledge divergent ideas. Now the mayor and council want to saddle Carefree with another boondoggle. They're trying to force us to pay for supplying water to an area that already has water. Contrary to their propaganda, Cave Creek's water is safe. The vice mayor and council members who live in the area should recuse themselves because the conflict of interest is obvious and egregious. The cost is also exorbitant. We're talking millions. We already have expensive water. Now we'll see huge increases in our monthly bills and in our taxes. This alone requires a referendum so we citizens can make the final decision. Instead of letting the citizens decide, our council has hired and pays attorneys with our taxes to lead their attack. Moreover, and especially important to me, is the location they've chosen. No alternate location for the huge water storage tank was discussed or considered according to documents. We moved to Carefree and into the Boulders because of the natural beauty which the town's residents cherish. Town's plans to support preservation of the natural desert. The Boulders is the first development in Carefree. The developers were thoughtful, careful stewards of the land. Their goal, of course, was to make money, but they also carefully put in place the concept of open space. It set a precedent for the concept of community-owned open space. They deliberately and specifically implemented this, and we should have a say to its use. Using eminent domain and to obtain it, using eminent domain to obtain it without having done due diligence for alternative routes and holding tank sites is a farce. As we have learned, there are several other locations for the tank that are on private property, not community open space. The owners have indicated they are willing to sell their land. What an awful precedent you'll set if you go forward with this condemnation. Open space, beautiful primitive desert, up for sale. What's next? There will be a fight over this, as I expect you know. In the process, you are destroying the community you give lip service to loving. Carefree doesn't need a civil war. Please reconsider all your options. You have several. Really look at them. The motto, do no harm, applies to you, Mr. Mayor and council members.
This is from Thomas Crowley. I want to communicate my disapproval for the water tank possibly being erected by Carefree in the Boulder North. It took many years as a community to remove the sewer plant, and now another semi-industrial project is being considered on the Boulder community area. I wish to strongly object any plan by Carefree Council to proceed with the eminent domain or further action on this water tank project on any Boulders common property.
To Town Council members, Carefree, Arizona, from Thomas and Mary Conklin, property owners, 1623 North Quartz Valley Drive, members BHOA North. Proposed water tank site condemnation of Boulders property. We have been following the processes for building an exceptionally large tank and the supportive structures for water storage by the Carefree Town and Water Company for the benefit of Carefree residents. It appears to continue being contentious, divisive, and costly. The fact that property owners, residents who will be directly and immediately affected by this had to file a lawsuit to have their concerns heard is a symptom of just how messy this whole situation has become. We have been property owners at the Boulders since 1993. We have seen many things change in the past 27 plus years. Never has something been so divisive or hotly disputed. Depositions from the lawsuit have been brought many times to the table that appear to have a level of secrecy and some attempts made to mislead association members. We are now of the opinion that an above-ground water storage tank will damage our interest and the interest of approximately 900 Boulders homeowners, as well as an untoward number of people visiting our area. Before the Town Council considers the condemnation, is that as hostile as it sounds, of Boulders' private property, we would like to believe that the leaders and decision makers, the powers that be, have in fact done their, quote, due diligence, end quote. At this point, we do not believe they have. There appears to have been bias and self-interest within the legislative bodies at all levels. This project does not seem to be of an essential nature. Some might even say it is redundant water delivery system with a lack of documented demonstrative need, or ask, has there been a serious evaluation of alternative tank sites and other less conspicuous areas where fewer people are impacted? As we understand it, no water will be coming to our area because of this relocation. So what is the cost-benefit analysis for those of us most impacted by this proposition? Those of us who own property at the Boulders realize and appreciate the real value of the Boulders common land. It is a special asset that should be recognized for what it is. The design of the Boulders community recognizes and respects the natural beauty of the extraordinary Boulder formation. From the very beginning of the development of the Boulders, strict building requirements purposely acknowledged the necessity to integrate homes into an unobtrusive manner that preserves the distinctive landscape and its Boulder feel. Even in the larger metropolitan valley landscape, there is no other place like the Boulders. It is, quote, the best land left at the prettiest desert in the world, end quote. We drive from Reno regularly, and every time we pass through the main gate, even now, after 27 plus years, we both take a deep breath and comment how exciting it is to come here. Finally, we would like all concerned with this proposition to carefully consider due diligence, what is in the best interest of the common good. We think that the Boulders Association's common land are not just our legacy, they benefit a much wider community. It defies logic that anyone would be so unaware as to propose setting this large above-ground water tank plus whatever else is in the middle of an amazing, one-of-a-kind landscape, especially when one considers that the wise thing to do would be to put it in an inconspicuous flat area where no one would be bothered by it. That would demonstrate wisdom and a sensitivity for the common good, benefiting all of us who live here as well as the people driving on Tom Darlington Drive from all over the world. We have experienced this landscape for enough years to know what is in fact a reality. People come from all over the world to be part of what seems to be taken for granted. Steve?
This is from John Smucker, 1601 Quartz Valley Road. I am writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed water tank being placed in the Boulders common property. There are numerous other commercial properties available for the tank, and the city should be seeking those out. A commercial project such as this will not only create an eyesore for the Boulders, but will create substantial animosity toward the city and its officers. A tank in the Boulders would also negatively impact home values, which would need to be addressed by the city. Thank you.
It's from Cal Goss. I am a Boulder resident writing to oppose the location of a new water tank in the common area of our community. I live in the South Boulders community, but share a concern for many about the possibility of having our common area usurped for a water tank when it seems like there is a viable alternative outside our residential neighborhood. End quote. Neighborhood A, a developed commercial area, end quote, where it will have minimal impact as described in various reports. I know there is a petition signed by over 1,600 people opposing the placement of a water tank in the Boulders. I had not seen the petition or signed it, but I hope this correspondence reflects my support for it. The Boulders community and the town of Carefree are both unique and distinctive. The Boulders community cares about the Carefree community. Given there is a seemingly reasonable alternative, it doesn't make sense to force a water tank onto the Boulders common area, risking an increase in the backlash and acrimony that it has already developed.
This was submitted without a name or ID. Water tank proposal comments. I wish to voice my opposition to the construction of a water tank on Boulders HOA land adjoining Tom Darlington Road. This would destroy a pristine desert owned by my community, be a blight within the Boulders community and surrounds and would negatively impact a number of Carefree Boulders residents that adjoin and or overlook the proposed water tank site. It appears there are other possible sites that are less impactful to Carefree residents. If a new water tank is indeed required, I urge you to please investigate and utilize one of these sites instead. Finally, I'd like to ask both the town and Carefree Water Company to be more transparent and timelier in their communications to Carefree residents regarding this project. Thank you for your consideration. Steve?
This is from Steve and Catherine Numata. We are residents of the Boulders and wish to register our strong opposition to the proposed taking of a portion of our community's common area land for the purpose of building a water tank to supply water to approximately 500 Carefree residents by Carefree Water. These residents are currently served by Cave Creek Water District. This entire project is deeply flawed in that the cost to provide this alternative water source will cost millions of dollars to be borne by all existing customers of the Carefree Water District. These costs include reimbursement to Cave Creek for the lost revenue from these customers, which has primarily been estimated in excess of $10 million, which is on top of the construction cost to build the proposed water tank. Why would we incur these costs to replace an existing water system supply? It makes no sense. The manner in which the town of Carefree has conducted itself during the entire process has been less than forthright and has not fully disclosed the reason why the change is needed, other than the water quality of Carefree water is perceived as better than Cave Creek water, although thousands of residents and businesses get their water from Cave Creek. The handling of this entire process by the town of Carefree has been less than above board. There were misrepresentations regarding the site selection process and a blatant disregard to honestly communicate with residents and respond to the questions and concerns raised by residents of the Boulders. There are alternative sites that would work for the proposed water tank, but the Boulder site appears to have been pre-selected by the town of Carefree and the subsequent studies and engineering reports with bias supporting. This has resulted in litigation expenses, which will eventually be borne by customers of Carefree Water as well. In closing, For these reasons, we strongly oppose the actions of the town of Carefree in this manner. It is ill-advised, has been poorly managed, and will result in higher water rates for all residents of Carefree for no good reason other than to cater to the personal preferences of the town council. This is a travesty, and the council should be ashamed of their actions.
From Barbara Morrell, the proposed situation of the water tower is not just a violation of the Boulders property, but also a big loss to the visual appeal of Carefree. Anyone driving on Tom Darlington will see this when coming into the north into Carefree community, which is noted for its visual appeal. All of Carefree will lose some of their community appeal because of this situation. This should be an unwanted issue for all Carefree residents. And a concerned resident, Barbara Moore.
From Abby Renfro, 1163 Beavertail, her phone number. To Carefree Town Council, UCFD Board of Directors, call to the public statement. In early 2019, Resolution 2019-02 was passed in a joint meeting of the Carefree Town Council, the UCFD Board, and the Carefree Water Company to take action to move certain Carefree residents from the Cave Creek water system to the Carefree Water Company. A passage of this resolution was listed in the meeting minutes, and an update was provided on August 5th. Since Resolution 2019-02 was passed, no published agenda nor minutes from any of the entities above have described a plan to locate or build a water tank, nor has any proposal been made to the Boulders North Board. Residents' opposition to positioning a storage tank within the Boulders was voiced to the mayor and water company representatives at an HOA presentation on November 8th, 2019. There is a petition and a lawsuit against the planned placement of the storage unit. The UCFD is planning to vote on the use of eminent domain. All of this has occurred since November 2019, and yet no plan, no map, no study, no drawing, and no opportunity for comment has ever been on the agenda or in the minutes of the Carefree Water Company. This is keeping this project out of the limelight appears underhanded. As the UCFD board, the Carefree Town Council would be disingenuous in claiming any ability to separate the roles and interests in this matter. 1. I disapprove of the conduct of the UCFD board, Carefree Town Council regarding plans for the Carefree water system and the construction of a new storage tank. 2. I do not want a water tank that offers no additional services to the Boulders located within the Boulders. I believe that the parameters supplied in contracting for search for a tank site was prejudicially limited. With willingness to add a lift station, tank sites located closer to the benefiting properties would be suitable. 3, the council board should be aware that the Boulders North HOA Board of Directors does not necessarily represent the membership. Unlike the board, residents are not looking for monetary settlement in lieu of condemnation. Should the town pursue eminent domain action, I am confident that, with or without the board of directors, residents would bring legal action to prevent condemnation and seizure of Boulders property. 4, the lack of transparency of this process, the 100% overlap of personnel between the Carefree Town Council and the UCFD Board of Directors, and the personal interest of the council members and their families, some of whom own property that will benefit from the change in the water system and have positions on the board and committees within the Boulders, makes it unlikely that a fair and impartial hearing can be had on this issue without going outside the bounds of the Carefree community. Steve?
This is from Ronnie Wainwright. To whom it may concern, I live in the Boulders community and am setting forth my opposition to building a water tank in the Boulders. Clearly, as the water will be used for another community and not at all for Boulders residents, this is an important part of my opposition. In addition, our beautiful Sonoran Desert is rapidly being ravaged by structures, and as a site steward for our local land trust, I am an advocate for maintaining our open spaces. Please hear the pleas of those of us who care about our wonderful community and the land we cherish. Thank you for your cooperation in this manner.
Alex, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Last one. Call to the public. Care of Town Clerk. Attention Candace. Please ensure that our letter is included in the call to the public portion of the town council meeting for January 5, 2021. My name is Lisa Starr and I reside in the Boulders. My husband, daughter, and I are new residents here. We were unaware of the complexity of the water tank issue when we purchased our home. We have been receiving bits and pieces of information from many sources. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an official and reliable source of information regarding this major issue that would affect over 900 residents. We can see that there are a number of factors involved here: environmental, health, and safety, along with one's ability to enjoy the natural beauty of this protected ecosystem. Too many questions, not enough answers. We are definitely not in favor of having a huge water tank within the private property of the Boulders. It appears there is a major conflict of interest here, with town council members who are also board members of the UCFD and some of who are Boulders homeowners. Their homes are not in close proximity to the proposed water tank location. Has the town considered other sites and have they been thoroughly evaluated? If so, what were the findings? Lisa Starr and Nikolai Sutosalis, 3205 East Arroyo Seco Road, Carefree, Arizona, 85377. Mayor?
Thank you, Candace, Steve, and Alex. Those are all of the letters which we have received. They have individually been read into the record. They will be kept. We will forward them to the UCFD Board of Directors for their next meeting, which are the council members who have received them now. I guess a couple of things that come out of this. Number one, we are scheduling 2 meetings to come up to address this in its entirety. The first one is on February 2nd. We're targeting for 4 o'clock. We will put out the information on it. Unfortunately, it'll have to be Zoom again, but we will provide a comprehensive look at everything pertaining to this, including the impact upon rates. And the sites that we looked at, it's evident to me there's been a lot of miscommunication to residents from people who did not have knowledge, but portrayed that they did. And let me tell you some of the things that have happened that lead to this. First, let me say, though, the second meeting will be a week later on February 9th, where we will address this in its entirety. But the first presentation, I would encourage everyone who has an interest on this to participate in, because Greg Crossman, the UCFD, the Carefree Water Company, will present everything we know, and there are reasons for this. The first thing is, when we started off communicating, the UCFD started off communicating with the Boulders back, as I think it was Abby Renfro said, or another individual, in November of 2019. We also, the UCFD made sketches and they put them out at the West Pool in the North Boulders. And I was there for a 3-hour time, and there were probably 6 people that came to look at those before and after. After that, Dr. Ryan filed suit and recognized there was also a suit that was filed, which we filed against Cave Creek Water. And once something goes into litigation, the town policy, which we follow, is that shuts off all communication. So you can thank those who filed suit against us, against the UCFD, for ending all communication on this. Because at that point in time, we were not going to communicate anything further, because it ended up just being used against us in one form or another. So the litigation against the town, against the UCFD, against the water company has been a major contributor to the lack of communication and our shutting off that. But I would make a couple other observations as well. There are 43 homeowners associations in Carefree, of which the Boulders is one. if we were to talk to the other 42 of them, part of what we would see is the same pride, the same don't put it in my backyard as what we're seeing here from the Boulders people. That's understandable. You know, you get down to it has to go somewhere, but don't put it by me. The problems that are being faced by the 530 homes, 1,000 plus people on the west side of Carefree are very real. Let me just read you something that was in the a quarterly statement which they were Cave Creek Water, who services those households, was required to send out to them. And I'll read from the note here. Some people who drink water containing trihalomethanes in excess over the maximum level with many years experience problems with their liver, kidneys, or central nervous system and may have an increased risk of getting cancer. That is not something that a town council who is responsible can stand on the sidelines and say, well, isn't that too bad? We'll just continue going. But once the council made the decision, once the UCFD made the decision, we're going to impact this, we're going to change it, then we get into, that requires another water storage reservoir somewhere in the Boulders. Not in the Boulders, but in the Carefree area. There is an engineering study which was commissioned. It looked at 7 sites, as I recall, on a series of criteria. They came back, and we'll get into this in much greater depth. But this site that they proposed and identified in the Boulders was the one which was clearly the one which was the preferred. It was, other ones were literally in people's backyards, etc. So, you know, we're going to come back on February 2nd. We're going to address this in total. By that time, we are nearing conclusion of the litigation with Cave Creek, and we'll be prepared to talk about these. But I'd like to clear up, there are misconceptions. I've heard industrial complex, I've heard water towers above ground. None of those are correct, and I don't know where that information is coming from. The proposed water reservoir, which we had been talking about with the Boulders North Homeowners Association, was buried. It was 3 feet above the ground. It was covered over. It was landscaped. More recently, we have been told by OSHA that we need to put in some stands there for the electronic controls. But you know, there's a lot of things that we're going to get into on February 2nd. So with that said, I'm going to end it. I thank you all. I appreciate the pride which every one of you have in your Boulders community, my Boulders community, where I live also. But let me assure you that the other 42 HOAs have that same pride. The Boulders is currently served by a water reservoir in another community to the north of the Boulders. So having said that, I'm going to close this off for this time and go on to the last thing on our agenda, and literally that is current events. John, I believe that you had one announcement there, and then we're going to close this meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In several years past, we've had garden seminars, January, February, March, and April. Because of COVID, those seminars won't be conducted. They're put together by a group of master gardeners within Carefree. So in lieu of having live seminars once a month for the next 4 months, they will put together a newsletter that has links to articles and videos related to gardening and gardening activities that are of interest to master gardeners. So if you're on their email list, you'll receive that. We'll post it on the town website. And if you're not on that email list, please let Candace know. Send her your email address and we'll get you on there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members have something in call to the public or in current events? Hearing none, I'm going to close this meeting. Thank you all and have a good evening.
Motion. I make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
To
I
adjourn.
second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.